Hi friends, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Tammy Ernest and I am a long arm quilter, and here on my channel I like to share client finishes as well as my own personal projects. So enjoying the bright sunny day that we've had. The last couple days have been bright and sunny. I'm enjoying that so much. I'm filming late again this week. I really wasn't even sure this was going to happen this week. I had kind of resigned myself to the fact that life was happening this week and not YouTube, but woke up this morning and things have kind of settled down, resolved themselves a little bit, so it happened. It's coming together, so I'm glad to be here today. So I'll share the things I've been working on this week, and then it'll be kind of a short interval until next week's video. Hopefully, we'll see. So this week, let me just jump right in. I've been sharing with you about my UFO challenge that I've presented to our guild this year, and some of the projects I'm working on for that. So first of all, if you would like a copy of this PDF, this is available in the description down below, but just a good way to get your UFOs done this year. And so one of the projects that I have actually to finish for June is the Can You Sew Quilt Along. This was a quilt along that Lisa Bonjean did last summer, I believe, and I'm still on it. That's why it's a UFO. But last week I shared that I have all of these blocks finished, and I've got my red and white 9 patches finished, and that I'm working on step number 5, which is 128 of these 9 patch half square triangle blocks. And I showed last week I was very optimistic and thought, yeah, and I think I even said, I think I have like 50 blocks done. Well, when I counted them up, it's actually only 29, and that's 29 of the 128 that have to be done. So this week I have used this project as my leaders and enders as I'm sewing on another one. And so I am happy to report I have another, I think this was 16, another 16 done. So between the 29 I had done last week and the 16 I have done this week, I am up to, I added it up, I'm up to 45. I couldn't do that in my head that quick. That had to be done on paper. I'm up to 45. So 45 out of the 128 that need to be done, I'm about a third of the way there. But I don't have this project scheduled to be done until June. So as long as I continue to work on this little by little, I'll get it done. So I have this as a leaders and enders project next to my sewing machine. So as I'm working on other projects, then I run these through. And so I've got 16 of them. 16 more accomplished this week, so I think that's good progress if I can continue on with that. So that's one of the projects I've been working on this week. Also this week, I mentioned last week that I got my Sew Sampler box for January, and in part of that Sew Sampler box is the Bliss Quilt Along, and I finished the block number 10. There's a small picture of it right there. So I did finish block number 10 for this week, and so only 2 more to go before we're able to put this one together. Now the only difference I did make, if you'll notice on the instructions, they had 4 red ones right here, and then the other ones were blue. And the amount of fabric that I had, as I've said before, I'm using scraps that I have or some leftovers that I have of this fig tree fabric, and I didn't have enough of the blue to do those squares blue, so I just flip-flopped them and did the blue on the 4 and then the multiple ones as the red. So a little bit different. I don't think it'll make a big difference unless in the layout that makes a difference, but I won't know that until I get all the layout instructions. So that's 10 done, and I have a whole stack of others. I'm so proud of myself having kept up with that quilt along this year, and I'll be excited to get the last 2 blocks of those done. So March and April will be the next 2 blocks, and I assume in the April box they will give us the setting instructions so we can go ahead and finish that then. So I'm just moving right along. I did get some things done this week. Another project that I'm working on, another quilt along, is the Calico Garden, and I did finally receive my my kit in the mail, and it didn't come till Friday. So I did order mine through the Fat Quarter Shop, and it comes in this nice big box with the pretty sticker on the top. I just like that. So when you open it up, one thing I do like about Fat Quarter Shop is they do provide a printed copy of the Sew Along guide. This is available on Lori Holt's website, and you can go down and download it yourself. But I do like that this is a nice, much more colorful PDF printout than I did on my computer. So I do like that. But this part is free. You can get that for yourself on the on Lori Holt's blog. And how nice they package this all. So this is all the fabrics that I will need for the quilt top itself. Now this is started. It started on Monday. I have not had a chance to get started on it myself. This will be one of the things I'm working on this weekend, hopefully. So if you're wanting to join along with us, I'm excited about this. I think this is really cute. And if you're wanting to join in, this is a free pattern. You can get this on Lori's website, as I mentioned. So the only things that you would need, you're absolutely able to use scraps from your stash and the colorways that you want. The things that you will need to finish this, you will need Lori's Sew Simple Shapes for this one, Calico Garden. And then you will need her interfacing that she uses if you're going to do the applique the way that she suggests. Not all of this is applique, some of it is pieced blocks, and I believe this week all of these flower blocks along the outside are in this week. So that's quite a bit, and hopefully I can get a good amount of that done this weekend. I had planned on starting on business taxes this weekend. I may have to put that off, or do that in the evening so that I can get a good, I've just gotten behind this week on some of my sewing with things that have gone on around the house. But that's okay. That's life. Life comes first, and I'm happy to do that. So we'll get back to this when it's the right time. But I think also are some of these. Which blocks are they? Did I see? Oh, it may be all the outside border blocks is what's this week. So the flower ones, and those are appliqued with the Sew Simple Shapes. So that's quite a bit to do this first week, but that's okay. Coneflower blocks, it says two coneflower blocks and the starflower border blocks. So not all of just the coneflower ones. We can do that. Coneflower would be this purple one right there. So I'm excited to get started on this one. This is such a pretty pattern, such pretty fabric as well. So hopefully I'll be able to share some good progress on that for next week as well. So I have a funny story to tell you. On my UFO challenge sheet for February, I want to finish this. This is a Buttermilk Basin pattern. This is her truck series, pillow series, and I showed last week I'd done the January one several years ago, but had never finished this February one. A perfect timing. So this past weekend, I always stay up late on, not always, I usually stay up late on Friday nights to sew while everyone else has gone on to bed. And I pulled this out, and I pulled my wool out to get started on it, and there was no pattern. There was no pattern in the package, and I thought, I cannot believe I've had this for 2 years and never opened it to realize there was no pattern in it. So I got on Buttermilk Basin's website and started searching for the truck series, and I couldn't find the truck series. I thought I'll just buy the pattern, you know, whatever. I couldn't find it. So, okay. So then I decided to send them an email. So I sent them an email saying, hey, I've had this pattern, this kit for 2 years. I opened it up. I can't find the pattern. Can you give me a link or just help me out some way so that I can find the pattern for this project so that I can finish it for February? That was Friday night. Saturday, I didn't hear anything. Not unusual. I mean, I don't even know if they're open on Saturdays, but I didn't hear anything. So Sunday, I thought, I don't want to wait too long because it's getting close to February. I was hoping to have this done for Valentine's Day. So on Sunday, I get on Etsy, and I find that somebody is selling the pattern. So I go ahead and buy the pattern off of Etsy. That's Sunday. Monday, I get an email from Buttermilk Basin with the link to the pattern, how I can buy the pattern. Now the funny thing is, Buttermilk Basin's pattern was cheaper than what I paid on Etsy for the pattern. If I just waited. So that's Monday. Tuesday, I come looking for some fabrics that I had showed last week. One of the other projects I had showed last week, the big Sunbonnet Sue blocks that I'd shown. So I came in here to pick those up, to carry them to my sewing room to begin working on them. And when I picked up the Sunbonnet Sue blocks, underneath was the pattern. So I have one on order from Etsy and it's already shipped. I don't feel that I should return it. It's my mix-up that that this all happened anyway. So I have the pattern now. I did not end up ordering it from Buttermilk Basin, even though they were so kind to send me the link and to show me where it was. So I will try again this weekend to get this started. And so, all that to say, my plan is when I do receive the pattern from Etsy, I think I'll just use it here on my channel as a giveaway. What do you think of that? So you would have to get your own wools because I'm using the wools that came in my kit along with my pattern. And so this pattern that I'm getting off of Etsy, I'll offer it as a giveaway. So when I finish this pillow, and am able to show it here on my channel, then on that week I'll offer the pattern as a giveaway and let you guys benefit from my scatterbrained, I guess. I don't know. I don't have an excuse for it. Just scatterbrained. That's all I could say. So I hope you get a laugh out of that. It's one of those, I can't believe I did that. All right, let me talk about something else here. There has been lots of discussion about a quilt that I had shown a couple weeks ago. This one, I love that. This is an antique quilt top that I actually picked up at our guild's, there's a spot right there, at our guild's auction this past fall. And I love to do that, rescue a quilt and put it on the long arm and stitch it up. And so I mentioned on the YouTube video that week that I did not know the name of this pattern. I've been having a hard time finding it and ask anybody if they knew it, if they could help me out. And then when I posted this on Instagram this past week, and Facebook, I asked the same thing. And I had no idea that I had come across something so unusual. And so I had a viewer named Deborah who contacted me and said, hey, I have found a YouTube video where she shows a similar quilt, and I will link that YouTube video down below. The name, let me find it again. The name of her channel was My Sewing Room, was where Deborah found this. That's not Deborah's channel, but she found this gal talking about a quilt that was very similar to this. Now hers was very scrappy. It wasn't done in the two color way like I have here. It was done very scrappy, and it wasn't as uniform as these blocks, if I'm remembering right. Some of them, not all the sizes were, they were a little wonky and stuff, but it's very similar. And she called the name of this block Bricks on Point. Now I don't know if she gave that name, that was just a name that she decided on because she hadn't found the quilt block either. I've looked through my quilt ID book. I don't see anything exactly like this. I mean, it's very similar to like a diamond in a square, but this isn't a diamond. It's a rectangle shape. So after watching that video, I thought, and then with Deborah's suggestion of sizing the block, you know, measuring it and seeing if we couldn't reproduce it. So I have spent some time this week trying to reproduce this block. Now this is a 5-inch block right here, or very close to it, all right? 5-inch block. There are larger triangles on this side and then smaller ones on this side. So what I did is I started with a 5-inch base. So for this one, it was a white base, a 5-inch, and then I have tried different size triangles for these two and then different you know, coordinating ones for these two. I've tried several different sizes, and the ones that I find that have worked the best to get this shape is cutting. So this is how I did it. I start with a 5-inch base, and then I cut squares here that were 3.5 inches. And I laid that in the corner and stitched across it here, and then folded that back, and then did the same on this side. So these were 3.5, and then what I finally settled on are these squares. I cut 2 inches and laid that across, stitched it, and pressed it back, and then on both sides. Okay, and so then I did the same thing, starting with the solid color, or whatever color you chose. I chose a little rosy one, and I'll show you that here in just a second. Same thing on this side, but I chose the rose color there, and then the 3.5-inch whites on either side, and the 2-inch blocks on the other 2 sides. I tried different sizes. I tried a 3 and a 2.5, and it made it a little more square than I wanted. Then I went with a 4.5. No, I went with a 4 and a 1.5, and that made this one very skinny, almost like a signature block then instead. And so I think this is fine. Let me show you the blocks that I did. So 5-inch, and I just, like I said, I used this rosy rose color fabric that I had. So I only did 2, but if you could see, I'm going to have to do more so that you can see the repeating pattern. You would make one of these here, but you would angle the rectangle this way. And then you would make another block just like this, put it here, and angle it this way. And then let me show you that on this quilt again. So that would be that for that would be those 4 blocks right there. So you can see the white rectangle, the red, the white, and the red. And when you put those together, it is so, when you put the 4 together, and then it's almost like you lose this block right here, because all of a sudden you see that block here. Now somebody asked me if this was a bow tie block. Now it's very this part that you get, and then here, it looks very similar to a bow tie block. I have some bow tie blocks that these are antique ones that I've been putting together for a client. Let me show you. And this bow tie block is even a little different than one I've seen. So here's more of the bow tie. This is one, actually, now looking at this, I wouldn't even call this a bow tie. I would call this a spool block. Because a bow tie block is more angular here with just a small little square in there. So actually I said that, and then those aren't even, I would consider those spool blocks, but not like the spool blocks that I've been working on for the Sew Scrappy spools, even different from that. So these are machine pieced. You can see on the back, they are machine pieced, but lots of different kinds of fabrics. And this is a quilt that I'm putting together for a client who is not a quilter. Someone earlier in her family was, and so she's got a lot of orphan blocks that she's asked me to put together. So anyway, I think we're on to something. All right, so you can see those 4. If I just hold it off, you can just see those 4 like that. So I will even put the sizes into the description down below. I do think it would be fun to recreate this at some point. I just, again, think this is such a neat block because it's very simple block. But then when you rotate it in those 4 ways, and then the repeating patterns, the secondary patterns that you create, I just think this is really, 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 really cool. So, I don't know. Maybe I could write a pattern for it. That would be my first pattern. Actually, it wouldn't be my first pattern, but first one I could make available, I guess. So, yeah, so that's exciting. I appreciate Deborah's help in finding that information and getting me started down that road of realizing that I even had something that was a little unusual. I didn't realize that at the time. I was just rescuing the quilt because I enjoyed the colors and the design of it, but that's pretty exciting to find. And if you find any more information about it, I'd love to hear. If you have an old quilt that looks like that one, or find one similar, or can guide me in directions, or find if that is the name of that block, I'd really be excited to learn about that one. All right, so let's move on to some long arm quilting. So this week I haven't had as much time with things that have gone on to get a lot of quilting done. But I do have this one back here, and this is a donation quilt from my guild. Our guild will, we kind of all work together. Some will create the quilt, some will donate the fabric, and I like to do the long arming. That's a skill that I can do and donate my time for. So I'm not sure where this is going to end up, but this is a nice quilt top that someone made in our guild, and then I did the long arm quilting for it. So let me grab it for you. So I really like this. Someone is really going to enjoy this as a gift quilt that they receive. So this is lightweight flannels, all of it is, and you can see the square, the triangle. I don't know the name of this pattern either, but it is very interesting. I like the little bit of geometry to it, and then you saw when I held it up big, the triangle inside a that square diamond inside of a diamond inside of the almost a ripple type effect. Isn't that really cool? I like that. And then the backing is a yellow flannel, a lightweight flannel. It's not a real heavy one. And then you can see on the back here, I chose this pantograph is called hopscotch, and it actually stitches out this way. Now this is one of those pantographs that you can make as large or as small as you want. I tried to coordinate it a little bit with the size of these blocks here. What I don't want to do when I'm quilting out is I don't want something that fits exactly here, exactly this size, because what happens then is if you're off anything, you notice it. So I don't want to try to fit exactly. So I'll either make it a little smaller, maybe a third of that, or just so that it overlaps and you don't notice any huge discrepancies if it's off at all. So I made it a little bigger just because of the flannel. I wanted to keep it soft but playful, but a little bit of the geometry. I kind of see this quilt going to a woman or maybe a young teenager. That's kind of what I think when I see this quilt. And so I just thought this pantograph was fun, kind of complemented the geometry that's in the quilt, but still a little playful and childish in a good way, if that makes sense. Childish in a good way. I used a light cream thread that just blends right in. You don't even see the color of the thread at all. So again, this pattern is called Hopscotch, and I'm excited to use this one more. This one was a new one that I had actually purchased it, I want to say Black Friday sale perhaps, or one of those sales around that time, and I hadn't used it yet, and so I thought this was a perfect time, perfect place to use it on. So I like that one, really neat. All right, someone had asked me about this quilt ladder that I have in here too, and this is not anything fancy. My brother-in-law used to work at a Lowe's, and many years ago he said, hey, I think it's actually like a skid, but it's a long, narrow one, more than the square ones that you see now. And he's like, hey, I think this reminds me of a quilt ladder. Would you be interested in it? And absolutely. So we've had it for several years. It's kind of aged. The wood is kind of aged some on it. So nothing fancy. And if you know me very well, I like to, I don't spend a lot of money on antiques. I like to find things that somebody else is getting rid of and doesn't see the value in, maybe, and that I can do. And even things like this that aren't antiques at all, but just have that feel of things from around the house. That's what they would have done in the olden days. I mean, they wouldn't have thought anything you know, about using an old piece of wood to hang something on, and so I like that. So nothing fancy, but it's one of those pieces I certainly love around our house and enjoy hanging my quilts on. So look for those things in your sphere, you know, things that you might be able to use to hang your quilts and just to decorate. Actually, you know, those the old church chairs up there, those were things that over the years our church was getting rid of, and nobody else wanted them, and I'm like, absolutely, I'll take it. I think that's a lot of fun. I have a set of old lockers that we have in our mudroom when you first walk into the house, and the same thing. You know, the church was getting rid of them and nobody else wanted old lockers, and I absolutely love the old lockers. Maybe I'll stick a picture in here for you to see that as well. All right, I have one last thing to share with you today, and I have been asked to be a pattern tester for a new quilt that will be coming out soon. This pattern is called Set to Spin, and this is Michelle Kane of From Bolt to Beauty. This is the second time I've been a pattern tester for her, but not only a pattern tester, this is the second time that she has sent me the cover quilt that will be used on the front of the pattern. And so this week I received that in and quilted it, and let me insert a couple pictures of the quilt top and the finished long arming, and then we can discuss a little bit. All right, so this pattern is actually foundation paper piecing, and I am a newbie when it comes to foundation paper piecing. I've done one small project, but I'm not even sure I did that one correctly. So when Michelle approached me about being a pattern tester again, and she said that it was a, you know, foundation paper piecing, I'm like, if you need a newbie's opinion on what the pattern is like, I'll be happy to test. And she said, absolutely. So I have been learning with this one. And so let's first talk about Michelle's quilt. So Michelle's quilt is all finished. Should arrive back to her any day now. And she is planning on entering that into, it'll be hanging at QuiltCon at the end of February. So that's exciting for her, exciting for me. I've never had a project at QuiltCon either, and so that is really exciting. That's kind of fun. And so we kind of did a rush job so that she could get it back and then get it into the, you know, that whole process of getting it entered there. But if you're interested in this pattern, I'm not exactly sure. It won't be until the end of February, I believe. I'm really not sure the exact date, but you can go to her website, frombolttobeauty.com, and she has lots of other patterns, really cute patterns. Another one that I tested for her last year, and this one is called Set to Spin. So her the long arming that we did on hers was called Golden Curls, and I think it turned out really well. She was excited. She mentioned in her Instagram post when she put that out how she liked how it kind of complemented the swirl pattern, but it was going different directions. So Golden Curls was the name of that pantograph. So I am working on this as a quilt tester. So as a pattern tester, part of my job is to make the pattern exactly as it is, to see if there's any discrepancies in amount of fabric that's needed, any typos in the pattern. That's also done by a tech editor, but as a pattern tester, I like to just make sure that everything is easily read, that it's understandable, that if I follow the directions exactly, am I going to get the same results that she did, and to make sure I have enough fabrics of everything and cut the right way and all that kind of stuff. So that's my job as a pattern tester. So I have pulled my fabrics for this one, and let me show you what I've chosen. You're the first ones to see this. Michelle hasn't even seen this. So here is my basic plan. So in the pattern you have, you know, one block is 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 8 different parts to one block. And these are actually 2 different directions. So there's 2 different patterns that you follow. But my plan is for this gray fabric right there to be the background. And then I have the white. And then these triangle pieces here that she has as a maroon color. I have this black. It's got it like a black polka dot there. Kind of tone on tone. You won't really notice that from afar. And then the same white print on the next inner circle. And then my very center part right there is this Zen Chic fabric. So I've been showing you this fabric line. I've just fallen in love. And I just thought that this would make a cute colorway. So from the gray to the brown. This is the only Zen Chic fabric that is in this one. These others are the ones that I had on hand. But I'm excited to try this one. So this is going to be my inner piece. I have done one pattern so far. And I'm learning. This is a... I've left my paper on the back, and so my biggest thing in learning how to do this is getting my fabrics to lay the right way and making sure when that I have enough to press over, if that even makes sense. But if you're interested in learning foundation paper piecing, this would be a great pattern to get here in a couple weeks when it does come out. Scrap friendly as well. She shows it in a little more of a modern print, and you saw from the pictures that of her quilt is even a different colorway than this one. And if you go with the solid colors, then it's a little more of a modern look. You could do even a scrappy look, and she says she based this off of an antique quilt that she found. So she gives 4 different sizes, so you can do small ones all the way up to a large quilt, depending on how much you want to work on it. And then she gives some different settings that instead of just this one that's shown, that she gives some other settings for it as well. So really excited for Michelle that she gets to show this at QuiltCon, and a new pattern available for her. And it's been a pleasure to get to know Michelle and some of the similarities we have in our families, and just wish her all the best. And so next week, hopefully I will have most of this together, and we'll be able to show you my progress on foundation paper piecing. And I know this has been a little shorter video than I normally do, but that's what I've been able to work on this week. So I hope you're finding lots of time to quilt too. If you are in need of long arm quilting services, I hope you'll head over to my website, tammyernestquilting.com. And there you can download my information sheet that gives you how to prep your quilt for long arm quilting, as well as an order form there that shows you or gives you all the information on how to get your quilt to me. Also on my website, there's plenty of designs that are shown there under the tab that says E to E, that's edge to edge designs. That's not all I have. I do need to do some updates to my website to add a lot of more of these pantographs that I've been purchasing onto the website. There's also a place to sign up for my Friday newsletter if you'd like to do that, and I'd always appreciate you following me on Instagram as well. So I hope you're finding lots of time to quilt, and that you'll make a comment down below. Tell me what you're working on. I'd love to connect with you guys in that way as well. And I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and we will see you back shortly. I plan on filming next Tuesday, as long as Lord willing and everything goes as planned, which it doesn't always, but we'll adjust as needed. And I have been working on my cross stitch as well. I purchased a couple frames the other day, so I'm going to finish framing some of my projects that I have done. So I've got another floss tube in the works as well. I'm excited about that. It's been really fun to stay on that stitching routine in the evenings, and I'm excited to share those things with you in the next few weeks as well. So hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next week.